What's going on, everybody? And welcome to today's show. This is my first podcast, so please bear with me through my ups and down and learning all this as I go. But a little bit about myself. My name is Ray. I own an outfit in Northwest Missouri. It's called RMA Outfitters. I've been an outfitter there for 17 years, and I was born and raised in South Florida. And my old stomping grounds are the South Florida Everglades, where I've hunted and gone through all pretty much all the public lands over there and hunted as much as I possibly can, public, some private, and I still hunt South Florida to this day, public land. And I just have an absolute passion for the outdoors and an absolute passion for hunting, especially whitetail with archery or any animal with an archer with a bow. And then obviously I hunt, Northwest Missouri and the surrounding states whenever I get a chance. So, like I said, I have 26 years of guiding under my belt there and 17 years as an outfitter. I love getting my guys, my hunters on deer and learning different tactics every year as it goes on and getting them in the best positions and trying to figure out what Mother Nature's going to do that year and trying to put the pieces to the puzzle because those whitetail and animals in general will humble you every single year. It's not just like a cookie cutter thing that they do every single time. And for being, blessed and God making me an outdoorsman, I have been able to be put in a situation to be able to do this for so long and kind of notice some things that are the same, skipping some years, and things that aren't the same. And then, you know, drought years versus non-drought years, and bumper crop of acorns versus no crop, versus states with feeders versus states with no feeders. Mineral, what minerals better, what minerals doesn't. I mean, there's so many things over the years that I've been able to be blessed to learn and go over. And now that being said, just because I think a tactic works and it's a way that I believe in, doesn't mean that your way is wrong at all. If anything, there's so many different ways to do things that your way might be way better than my way, and I just don't even know about it yet, or like I said, different states, different tactics. And that also cultivates to be that I could be in Missouri and what works for me there may not work for you where you're at. So what I say is my opinion and what I think works, and you by all means may have hundreds of other tactics that may work, and I look forward to hearing them in the comments and maybe getting some questions down there that we can roll over to the next shows that are coming up. I'm going to have a bunch of different guests on this, and we're going to talk about so many different things. This came to be where, over the years at the lodge, talking with the hunters, messing around, sharing stories, that the guys have always told me, hey, you should really look into doing a podcast or a show and share your knowledge and your stories with people because you love the outdoors so much and love talking hunting so much. And this is my crack at it. I hope you enjoy it. If you're watching this, it's because you're an outdoorsman and you get it. So today we're going to kind of get into bow tactics, archery tactics, and what I think builds confidence on a stand. Because let's be real here. When you're hunting your hometown property or a stand that you've hunted multiple times over and over and over, you're confident there. You feel good there. You've had encounters there. You've probably shot there. So your confident level's higher. But now when you go to an outfit or when you go to hunt private land or public land, different places that you've never sat before, your confidence isn't as high as your home base. So one of my things when I'm doing my safety meeting is to get everybody relaxed and get everybody to build confidence and feel like family and feel like home. And one of my biggest things I tell the guys, all right, when you get to your tree stand and it's a morning hunt or even early afternoon hunt, what I do is when you get up on the stand, you set yourself up, relax, get everything evened out, pick a leaf that's on your way out or a dot or anything that's on your way out so you don't have to deviate to go get it. But when you pick something, all right, that leaf is on my way out. Draw your bow back, take the shot, and hit the leaf. Range it, draw back, shoot, hit the leaf. So I always take a practice arrow with me just a field tip head. And what that does is it helps you build confidence from that new spot, new stand, new position, new height. And it gives you that, all right, I got it. No big deal. Deer comes there, it's game over. It gives you that confidence. And I've always been a big believer that confidence harvests the animal. When you have confidence in your weapon, you know what you can do and what your capabilities are. So taking those shots every time you go to your stand, and I do it personally. I get to my stand in the morning. Before I get off my stand, I range a leaf, draw back, boom, take the shot. All right, get down, builds my confidence every single time. So I enjoy it. The guys say they love it. It gives you some kind of action. It's not just all right, undo the bow, get off my stand. You get to take a shot. It's pretty cool. Just because a lot of the times we just practice at a same level when we're in the backyard. No, 80% of us don't have a tree stand in the back that we can shoot off an elevated platform and gain a little bit more on that aspect too. But, we're more plain level shooting. Another one I get a lot of is low light conditions. So, low light conditions and not being able to find your peep sight. I have a bunch of guys that, man, the deer came in and I drew my bow back and I couldn't find my peep sight. So let's say you're in the timber, and we all know that in the timber it gets dark probably 20 minutes earlier than what it would be on the outside of a field. So you have a buck that comes through. He's sitting there staging before he makes his presence out to a big field. It's starting to get dark. You draw your bow back. You're sitting there anchored up, and you can see your pin. You can see his silhouette, his shoulder, but you're sitting there trying to find your peep sight that's black in a shadow, and it's hard. So what I tell people to break that is, if your anchor point and your form is always on point, which it obviously should be, draw your bow back with your eyes closed. Settle in, anchor up, open your eyes. When you open your eyes, you should be always looking through your peep sight. However, your anchor is, you should always be looking your form on point, everything, anchor in, nose on the string, open up. Your eyes should be looking through that peep sight. So you should never have to worry or feel, unsettled that you're not looking through your peep sight. You're looking through your peep sight because you know your form is on, you know you're settled in, you're 100% looking through that peep sight. So settle in on your target, put that pin, and make that ethical shot and harvest your animal. So that's a big one that sometimes, those big mature bucks, they have that movement where they tend to go that last 30 minutes, last 15 minutes of light, they make their presence sometimes. And hopefully that'll help you out in the future. And also another one, we have a big archery range there at the lodge. And I see people all the time, 20, 30, 40, 50, 20, 30, 40, 50, 20, 30, 40, 50. And I really think that that's great and that's awesome. And obviously, we all need to do it because we sight our bows in that way, and it's easier, doing some quick shooting. But I always say try to shoot the odd yards, the 32, the 34s, the 37s, in every range. And what I mean by doing that is I'm not talking about just splitting the pins. Let's say you range it as 35 and you split your 30 and your 40 and you shoot for the center. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm trying to say is shoot your 20-yard pin at 26 yards, holding bullseye on your 20, and just see what your 20 is. See what your drop is at 26 yards, holding bullseye with a 20-yard pin, and then do it at 30 and do it at 40 and do it multiple different, because I have a short draw length and my drop off is at a certain yardage and I know where my drop off is. But I know that from 20 to 30, I can press my pins a little farther to do more work for me than having to be, if that buck is coming in and you go to stop him and he takes a couple extra steps and looks back at you. Now you're like, oh man, is he at 34? Is he at 30, at 33? I know he was at 30, but now you can put your pin there and either hold an inch higher, half inch higher, or hold dead on, depending on what your bow is shooting. So those are little things that I've seen mess with guys' heads, that they ranged him at 30 and all of a sudden he did a jump and maybe he's at 34, and they draw down to range again and now you just got busted. But if you know what that little jump was calculated in your head and you know what your pins do, you can kind of hold true and still hit that lung where it needs to be, or in there, high lung, low lung, but you'll be in that general area. Another big one that I love to do is shoot sitting down, shoot standing up, and shoot from your knees. Some guys shoot sitting down. I rather be standing when I shoot just because it makes me more mobile and lets me get away with a little bit more versus being sitting down, being covered with deer, and then thinking that that deer was going to come to my shooting side, and now he came from my opposite side, and I'm going to have to stand and move with an audience in front of me, and it's not just him alone. So, my opinion, this is how I like to hunt, and the reason I say shoot sitting, shoot standing, shoot kneeling, is because let's paint a picture. You're walking to your tree stand. We're in November. It's the rut. There's a doe sitting out there. You look into the field and there's a buck sitting there tending her, eyes focused, just staring at her. So, what are you going to do? You're going to drop to your knees to lower your profile. You're going to sit there and hit the range. Let's say he's in your wheelhouse. You're going to sit there, you're going to draw your bow back and take the shot. And you would have rathered practice that many of times beforehand shooting from your knees than praying, God, please let this be the shot and the confidence where I got to get this arrow downfield, that a shot I've never done before. So those are here or there, may not ever happen to you, may happen to you. I know a bunch of guys throughout the years that have encounters on the way to their stands, especially in the rut when those bucks aren't really paying too much attention. Unless that doe runs, he's not going to run. He's just going to stay locked up. And sometimes you can press that matter a little bit more than you usually couldn't, and get into range to be able to shoot that deer with your bow. You know, another one is stopping deer, and that's a big one. We go over all the time, and when's the right time to stop a deer, and when's not the right time to stop a deer. So obviously, if the deer is an alert, and you know that that deer is he knows something's up in that tree and something's wrong, then I would not stop that deer. What I would probably do in that instance, there's so many different ways that this could go down, but what I would probably do is let him relax, let him go back to feeding, draw my bow, and then let him look back up at me and then take the shot. Like if he's moving, he'll stop to check on it one more time and then continue to take your shot there. Um, just because sometimes putting them on high alert, I mean, when they're on high alert and then you go, man, to get his attention, he already knows something's wrong. So he's already either going to stop and posture up and you're going to shoot and he's going to duck, or he's just going to boogie on out of there. Versus, you know, here a deer's walking by, he's going to a feed field, he's coming to a grunt call, he's following a doe, whatever the case may be, he has no idea that anything's wrong in the world. Man, you stop him, he takes a stop, boom, you shoot. And the reason I say it is because sometimes, and I've had it happen to me multiple times, that I get too excited or I'm so pumped up that the man doesn't even come out of my mouth. It's just stuck there in limbo somewhere, and I'm just like just giving air just because I'm so jacked. So I've done it, and you think, man, this deer's walking so slow. He's at 18 yards. There's no way this is not gonna, go where I need it to be because it's so fast. And you draw your bow back, and you have to remember you're stationary and he's moving. And very rarely do we follow, with a bow. So go, you see his shoulder. By the time it runs to your mind, pull the trigger, you're 3 to 4 inches behind. And that could be either you were going to be in the lungs or now you're further back where you shouldn't be. And well, now we're just going to have to wait and track later on that animal. So when you can, don't be afraid. Stop the deer. And another thing, don't stop the deer without having your bow drawn, because you're gonna go, man, he's gonna stop. He's gonna look, and then if you haven't drawn yet, two things can happen. You're going to draw, and he's gonna pause. He's gonna look up. They'll take their head up high and look at you, and he's either gonna do that or he's just gonna boogie. But now you just put him on definitely alert. He sees something. Now he put two things together. He heard and saw. So the probability of him ducking that arrow, it's pretty high. Especially we're talking longer distances. It's pretty high that that's going to happen. Hey guys, I just want to take a brief second here and give a big shout out and thank you to all my sponsors. Tacticam, I absolutely love their cell cameras and I run a ton of them. It's a big part of my success. I would definitely go out and check them out and run some cell cameras from Tacticam if you don't already. Another sponsor of mine is Dirty South Taxidermy. He has mounted many of my animals. He does amazing work, full range of animals. Definitely go check out Dirty South Taxidermy. Let's get back to the show. In close shots. So we're talking under your tree stand, and he just snuck up on you, and you have to shoot under your stand. I know we've all heard this before, but you know I've had it where guys will draw and then they'll just do this, and they won't bend at the hip. And if you just do this, it throws all the angles off, all your form is off. So in that circumstance, which I am going to tell you the truth, I do not like shooting under my stand, but I usually wait for that deer to get out there, but circumstances sometimes don't let that happen. So draw back, bend at the hip, and take your shot to kind of keep everything in your torso in line with itself. That definitely helps, but if you can, let that deer get out on you a little bit. Another big one is not standing soon enough. You're taking too long. You're trying to stand in the danger zone. And what I mean by that is, let's paint a picture. So we're in a cut cornfield. It's in the afternoon. All these does are starting to pour out of there, and all these young bucks start coming out, an hour before dark. And then all of a sudden, 30 minutes before last light, here come these big mature bucks, and they start filling the field up. And in your mind, you're like, well, I mean, they're still 200 yards away from me or 100 yards away from me. There's no reason for me to stand now. But usually, what happens in that playbook is you're going to have those does start feeding towards you. You're going to have those younger bucks start feeding towards you. And what those big bucks are doing, those mature bucks, they're watching the play go down. So they're feeding off of whatever these deer are giving them. So those does are working the field. He's got tons of eyes that are looking for him. So he's sitting there watching all of these does. All of a sudden, you see what's happening. Here they come. All the does are around you. Now you have multiple eyes everywhere, and you're going to try to stand up. What happens in those cases is it just takes a flick of a tail of a doe. Flick of a tail, a quick step, a stomp. The whole field goes steady, and they're all kind of looking up. That buck is not going to go investigate. Those mature bucks don't investigate. Those does did all the investigating for him. He's just gonna turn and slip away, and you're gonna be like, man, but nothing really happened. He got the gist of what just happened. He had all he needed to know by just watching that. So I always say, if you're a stander, all these does start coming in. Before they even start coming close to me, I've already flipped up my seat. I move my bow arm in front of me. I lay it against the tree, and I'm just relaxing. Because now I know once that buck comes in my wheelhouse, or doe, whatever you're shooting, you can grab your bow, hide behind it, present it out, peek out, take a range, clip in, draw, take your shot. And that seems to fare very, very well doing that. How I draw is not how everybody draws. So I tend to, cover myself with my bow. So there's a method that 90% of everybody uses out there, which is push and pull. You push and pull your bow to draw it back. I don't do that. I keep my bow out in front of me. I'll take the range, I'll clip in, and I'll hide behind my bow when I go to draw. And I just feel like I feel sneakier because if I do this, you do that, it kind of makes it seem like something's being thrown at you, so it makes them glance up sometimes. So by me just slowly presenting my bow out and then go ahead and take my range and then hide behind it, I feel that I'm sneakier. It works in my mind, and I've never really had a deer look at me when I'm at draw until I stop them. So another thing I tell the guys when we're doing the safety meeting is, if you feel the need or the want to get down, like, okay, it's the morning, lunchtime's coming. I wanted to sit till 10, but I don't think anything's happening. I feel like moving. I'm gonna get down and go. Wait 20 minutes. Give it 20 minutes. And you would be amazed how many deer you're going to see by giving it to 20 minutes. And I'm sure a lot of you watching have had this happen. You get the urge to move. All right, I'm going to get down, go back to the truck, come back for lunch. And you start packing up all your stuff, and here come the deer. Or you're halfway down the ladder, and there's the deer. Or you're halfway out of the field, and there's the deer. And I don't know if it's because the pressure or whatever it is that makes us feel like we want to move. I feel like sometimes they feel that too. They feel the need that they want to move. So whatever just came about you that you wanted to move, I feel like sometimes it just nature saying, let's move. So I always say give it 20 minutes, and you'll be amazed how many deer you encounter by giving it the 20 more minutes. And you're going to be like, dang it, man, I wanted to move, and the deer are moving now too. So, it's a good thing. Test it out. Throw some comments in there and let me know what your experience is, if that's ever happened, or when you do try it, if it does work for you. Here's a good one. So quiver on or quiver off. I used to be a quiver off guy until I got snake bit. And, I would always get to the stand, take my quiver off, put it in my backpack, pull one arrow off to leave it loose so I can get to it quickly and relax. Well, here's the problem that happened to me. Took my shot and I hit my bow arm when I shot and it threw my arrow off. So I go to pull this arrow out and I'm yanking it all over the place and it's getting caught everywhere. And I missed my chance of trying to shoot my target buck. So ever since then, quiver on, and I don't take that sucker off for anything. Yes, you know, there is a bunch of things that go with it. It does make your bow heavier. Sometimes it counters it off a little bit, and you have to do a kickstand on one side. I get it. There's every bow's different, but there's a bunch of things that it does do, and it does make it heavier. But the advantages of being able to grab your arrow immediately are amazing. So what I say is try, you know, here's another one. I always tell the guys, if you shoot your buck, please, if he offers you a second shot, please take the second shot. And if he offers you a third shot, take the third shot. Shoot till your quiver is empty or your rifle is out of bullets. You continue to shoot as long as he presents you shot opportunity. And I don't know how many times, and this is every year. This is not just one story. This is every season, every year. I have guys that I shot the deer and, I was waiting for him to fall. I felt good about the shot. I knew he was going to fall and he didn't fall. He just walked away. I have learned to you shoot him at 20 and he offers you a shot at 30, you shoot him at 30. And if he offers you another shot at 30, you shoot him at 30 again. And you're doing your best to make an ethical harvest, and you're doing, your best to make sure you get a good blood trail too and be able to find this animal, and not just let him stagger off, and then eventually hopefully we can find him. So keep shooting. There's nothing wrong against it. Definitely don't sit there and just watch him. Doom, take your shot, load back up, and if he's there, range, boom, take your shot again. Those are some tactics that I do. I greatly appreciate you guys, tuning in to watch this, especially my first episode. It's exciting. I look forward to it tremendously to be able to sit here and talk what I love to do and hear from you guys and hear what comments you guys have. And please, if you like it, subscribe. That would be awesome. Definitely hit the like button. Leave your comments. And, if you ever want to check me out, you can go to RMA Outfitters at Instagram and feel free to check out what I do over there. And if you ever want to come hunt, you're more than welcome. I would love to have you there. That's about it, guys. I look forward to doing this again. Thank you so much for your time. Have an amazing day, and I'll catch you on the next one.